Welcome back, everyone, to the Sales Show. I'm Simon Severino, your host, and today I have asked the Vice President of Sales at Alliance Funding Group, Jonathan Frank, to be here so that we can talk about what's working and what's not working in sales this year and learn from the best. Welcome, Jonathan.
Thank you, Simon. Appreciate you inviting me on and glad to be here.
Give us a little context about Alliance Funding Group. Who is it for? What is it for?
Yeah, so Alliance Funding Group, we are a independently, privately owned equipment financing lender, direct lender out in the marketplace. We also offer some working capital products, but what we're looking to do is really help businesses with their CapEx plans and scale and grow, right? Moving forward, help them accomplish their goals from a capital perspective. Obviously, allow them some diversification resources when it comes to getting competitive capital out in the marketplace. And we pride ourselves on taking that consultative approach and really partnering with clients in the long term to help them get their business to where they would like it to be.
You have 5 people on your sales team, right?
Yes, that's correct. Currently, yes.
And how does the origination process look like? Do you make a list of the people that you want to fund, or do they find you? Walk us through the origination process.
So I really like to have my guys out there hunting in the marketplace. I think that's where we have the most success. Obviously, we will get some inbound stuff from various trade shows or things like that my guys are going out and attending. But I like to go out and find guys that like to get out there and hunt in the marketplace. But what I like to do is I pride myself on my prospecting capabilities. It's why my team has been able to scale as effectively as we have. And so I spend a lot of time, looking at various things, right? Using various tools out there when it comes to finding, whether it be UCC filings or things like this. But getting an understanding as, hey, where are we most successful from where have we had the most success in the past? And let's replicate a process to maybe find those customers moving forward. So, specific industry sectors that we're doing a lot of business in, maybe specific, with public companies. Hey, let's look for some specific ratios here, whether it be private companies with public bond offerings, things like that. But let's get out there. Let's try to make some contacts into these businesses and discuss our offerings. Hey, this is what we bring to the table. We're underwriting up to 50 million on balance sheet for CapEx needs. What do you have coming up? And let's see if it makes sense to partner together.
What kind of tools do you use to find them?
So I use a variety of different tools, from sales. I'm sure everybody's heard of Zoom Info. That's great for getting out there and getting contacts for my guys. And then, another great one is looking through UCC filings that I found. These are public filings that are out there that show, the financing that is being done, whether it's, on equipment specifically, maybe blanket lien filings when it comes to assets. There's also, you can go in and see, hey, this was some vehicles or transportation equipment that was financed, if it was filed properly, right? So that just gives you a history of how much financing this business is doing, right? So you can kind of target your approach a little bit better and say, hey guys, we see obviously a lot of financing activity being done within the last couple of years. Let's maybe reach out and see if it makes sense to have a conversation with this customer based off of other items we're seeing. Hey, their revenue's over 50 million. And they're in an industry sector that we perform well in. So couple that there, and then also, I think LinkedIn is a great platform and tool as well for sales guys to get out there, maybe find some contacts that might not be in these other tools such as Zoom Info and things of that nature, and also kind of build your and let people know from a broad basis, what you're offering and what you bring to the table, whether it be posting each day, putting out stuff, marketing material based off of alliance funding and things like that. So those are the 3 big ones I would say we're using.
So now you have a list in front of you. Do you try to find their mobile number and call them? Is it a LinkedIn message or a voice note? What's the next step?
So I like to have my guys hit all 3 of them, right? The more we're getting out and showing interest in the company, I think the higher the response and success rates are going to be. It shows, obviously, you're willing to go out and put the effort. Obviously, you want to be patiently persistent, right? Not overbearing. But I have my guys initially going out and I try to do the initial legwork for them of finding the companies and then getting some initial contacts in there, CFO, CEOs, your COO, right? Operations guys, potentially some guys in treasury based off of how big the company is. Maybe purchasing is a good spot too, purchasing directors. But then from there, we're looking for, hey, can we find an office line directly to this individual? Let's look them up on LinkedIn. Can we get a mobile number as well? And biggest thing, let's get an email for these guys. The more data we have on that individual from a contact perspective, the higher the success rate is going to be. So I'm always telling my guys, let's try to get everything. If we can't, we're going to pinpoint based off of what we have. If not, we're just going to go the old school route of calling into the main line and here's my product offering. Can you transfer me on over to this individual? I think it's going to be a good conversation. So we're doing that. And then from that, I like to have my guys be hitting a message, call, email, right? Let's get 3 contacts out there and show this individual we're interested.
I'm always curious about how you prepare for that message and what the first sentence is. We have been A/B testing like mad the first sentence. When you find sometimes a sentence that works, because you might, that changes dramatically the hit rate. Because you might say, we have funding as the first thing. And then that comes off maybe very, very weird. You might say, and we're seeing A/B tests where right now the best is, I'm on your website right now, and this is my question.
Oh, okay.
Because it's really human. It's kind of interesting. You don't know what they're seeing on your website. So if you are the treasury guy, that's not so relevant for you. But this works with CEOs of smaller companies that actually basically are still in the messaging and in the website. Then they want to know, oh my God, what the website? Is it down? Like, what did you find? Is it a typo? And then usually then you can start a conversation from there around, hey, is this offer for this kind of segment or that kind of segment? And boom, you are in the thick of it. You are in a relevant conversation, and you went from cold to kind of lukewarm very quickly. And so that A/B test, that's always interesting. Have you found some sentences to work better than others? Some hooks?
Yes, I have, and I do like to change this up based off of potential. What we're seeing, a big one, like I'll just share, is if I see something, a news offering out there, oh, my guy's looking it up, right? Or me myself, if I see, hey, this organization is having CapEx plans and it was announced, right? I'm going to put that in the first line, very direct of, hey, Mr. CEO, whoever I see, hey, congratulations. I saw the announcement for these large CapEx plan, and then go into our offering. The second one is being very direct in terms of saying, hey, Mr. CEO, Mr. COO, or president, treasury guy, I've noticed some pretty extensive history here in terms of equipment financing through these UCC filings, right? And then go into our pitch. This is what we do as Alliance Funding. It's just, it's direct. You're not trying to fluff anything. You're saying, hey, this is what I'm seeing. Obviously, this makes sense based off of your history of what you've been doing. Does it make sense to have a conversation about our offerings? Is diversification important to you guys? Do you guys need more access to capital? Right? But those are kind of the 2 big ones. I either base it off of potential, news out in the marketplace, kind of similar to what you guys are doing to pay. I'm on your website right now. If there's big news or CapEx plans or expansion plans, we want to be referencing that right away, and congratulating them first and foremost. And then secondly, bringing our services to the table, because it probably makes sense to be talking to lenders if that's the case, right? And then, secondly, the one is basing off just very direct of, hey, this is what we've seen you've been doing. It's public knowledge. Here's where we found it. Obviously there's extensive history here. Let's have a conversation and see how we can potentially be a fit for you guys.
And so some have already decided that they are going to expand into CapEx. Some maybe didn't yet. Do you also look for a conversation for them? And in terms of, hey guys, we are seeing your industry. We see that this is what's coming for you. We see that probably you should invest into growth CapEx and maintenance CapEx this way. Maybe you think that it's too hard, but there are many options.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and the big one is there, the old saying, cash is king, right? You have a lot of businesses all businesses are usually looking to grow and expand their business, right? All good business leaders are wanting to do that. So when you have a conversation, maybe there is not extensive financing history there. They've traditionally been paying cash. We're going to bring up, hey, why not hold on to that cash? Let's just talk here from a consultative approach. Why not hold on to that cash, preserve that for other areas of potentially quick ROI capabilities, right? Hey, I need to go hire on some new employees that is going to rapidly let me expand. And we'll take care of any equipment needs or CapEx spend you need. So you don't have to have a large capital outlay of, let's say, $1 million up front. We're going to finance that over a 4 or 5 year period. You're going to be able to hold on to some of that cash you would have initially been putting out in one large tranche and use that cash to then grow other areas of the business, which is all going to work in conjunction with one another to scale the business effectively, right?
Now you have 5 people out there and you create that path and then they go and work it. I'm curious because we get so many questions. How should the weekly meetings look like? Should you have a Monday meeting, a Friday meeting? How do you structure a sales meeting in a good way? What's the cadence? Should it be weekly, monthly? And so we'll ask you about how you structure your sales meetings with your 5 people. And if you do one-on-ones, after one word from our sponsors.
What if your business would run well even when you are on vacation? Discover how 1,600 business owners have regained their freedom using the Strategy Sprints blueprints. How they enjoy living their dream and watching their business scale. Get the exact checklists they use to go from stressed to fulfilled using the Strategy Sprints method. Order your copy of Strategy Sprints 12 Ways to Accelerate Growth for an Agile Business on Amazon today. And if you love it, leave us a review. For more information, head over to strategysprints.com.
Tell us about your meetings.
Yeah, so what I like to do is I structure them weekly. And I typically have one on Friday in a review capacity of what happened for that week. But what I have my guys do and my team do is specifically send me every Monday by 9 a.m. I would like a breakdown of what their goals are for the week. So, whether it be, hey, I want 5 new deal packages in, I want to make this many contacts with decision makers, trackable metrics for the week that we can look at and say, hey, these were either hit or miss. Very easy to see from a metric standpoint. Then on Friday, I have them send an email to me before our meetings and say, hey, this is what I had for the week. This is what I hit. This is what I didn't hit. Take an introspective look at things and say, this is why I didn't hit it. And then I'll review those emails. And then I'll typically, if I have questions or I want to discuss some specific point, I'll call the rep individually. But then I have one large team meeting and I can get from that a sense of potential themes within the team that we're missing out on. And then I can also see from those emails individually, hey, this is what this rep might need a little bit more help with. Let me call him individually and have a discussion with him on a separate time. But I like to group up potential themes because they're pretty easy to see if you have trackable metrics. Hey, what are we not doing as a team? And what are we not succeeding on? And let's have a conversation about that. Why are we not doing that? Is there something that as a manager and a leader that I can be doing better for you? Is there more tools I can give you? And let's talk about that as a team so that we can implement it, make a fix, make a solution, and then obviously be more productive, right? So that's the goal. I typically do it weekly, but I like to have those goals specifically mapped out by the individual so that they can be held accountable and they're accountable also for themselves at the end of the day. So
Super efficient. One meeting, but you have the focus and you have the learning in a week. What is hard right now? What is easy?
So hard right now, I mean, just with the way, technology has rapidly increased, I would say getting in contact with people from a variety of different ways is pretty tough, especially when you're looking to contact, companies, large organizations, right? You're going to need a lot of different contacts to be able to do that. A lot of the time, it's tough if you can't find specific mobile numbers or, they're not active on LinkedIn. They're not checking it a lot. Getting in contact with the specific individuals we want to be speaking within finance, operations, purchasing, chief executives, it's tough, right? So that's where the persistence comes into play and the work ethic comes into play. And then, right now, just with where rates are and then the marketplace, expectations and having conversations. This is a big thing I preach to my team is you have to have conversations initially to set proper expectations with the customer, get an understanding of what they're used to seeing rate wise, let them know our processes internally so that, we're having a smooth, but also a sales process that's understood, right? We don't want to be telling the customer, promising them the moon, and then coming back and changing things at the last second, right? So just expectations, just where the market is, a lot of, whether it be from our perspective, from a timing issue, or when it comes to, these purchasing directors or executives from an underwriting perspective, it takes a little bit longer than they initially would want, right? So just having a clear process, hey, this is probably going to take 2 to 3 weeks to underwrite, just due to where we're at in the market right now. And then getting in contact with these individuals is the two biggest things. And I would say right now that I'm really having my team focus on and try to buckle down on and improve on.
How long is the sales cycle from the first contact to closing?
It can vary quite significantly. And the reason being is here at Alliance, we can fund deals, from 100,000, my group specifically, from 100,000 all the way up to 50 million. So you have a large different tranche when it comes to purchasing price initially, right? So with those smaller initial deals in that $100,000 to $500,000 range, not a ton of underwriting is initially required. So we can speed up the process pretty effectively, get an approval within, potentially hours, and then send out docs, fund deals within a week if invoices are ready to go and the equipment's ready to be delivered. For these larger institutions, the one that we're working with quite frequently, a lot of that is going to be based on not only what the project is going to entail, how many different segments of the project there are, potential tranches of equipment getting delivered. But with that, you have a lot of negotiation back and forth, and there's typically a lengthy review process of term sheets, right? And truly getting an understanding of what makes sense for both institutions. Us here at AFG, from an underwriting perspective, getting comfortable with the risk that might be presented in the deal, and then also, the customer. So it can go all the way from, like I said, on the smaller side, a couple of days, a week. I even see deals be turned over in 24 hours to potentially 2, 3, 4, 5 months long from a review and then funding and implementation standpoint. So it varies quite significantly, but I would say to lock down a term sheet, I've never seen it go longer than 6 months from a review perspective and getting comfortable with one another from a sales cycle.
Are you watching interest rates? What's your feeling? How are they gonna develop from here?
And so that's the big question. If I had that crystal ball, right, I'd be in the stock market daily, right? But it would be I watch it. I mean, I have it open every day because I need to be talking with customers about it, and it's updated daily. And we're based off of SOFR rates, right? So they operate in a similar fashion to Prime, right? But when we're looking at it, with the whole tariff situation is going to be interesting, right? And how we're seeing it play on the marketplace. We saw a pretty significant decrease in SOFR rates over the last 3 months to where they were at the end of last year. So for our clients, we're obviously discussing about that of hey, we're in a pretty good spot right now currently to lock in some stuff for you. And everything we provide is fixed rate financing. But we're going to have to see how the effects of tariffs are going to play out here. I think the pause was quite beneficial in terms of interest rates. And then obviously the inflation data that came out, it came out, I think, earlier this month, from the prior month, that did decrease significantly. So we're going to see what the Fed does. I know they operate obviously independently. And I think that's kind of the big question here. I forecast that it might stay stagnant again here, potentially for, I would say, maybe for a couple month period. And then I would forecast it's either, if I had to put a bet on it, I think they're coming down by the end of the year. So
back to your sales team, how do they deal with stress? Are all 5 people who love stress, or do you have to think about some activities, some things that bring in some fun, some calm?
Yeah. I mean, each person is their own individual. I do like to went through the hiring process. A big thing I like to look at is potential athletes in the past. They're pretty good at dealing with some of those stressful situations. And also you have the competitive fire. If they've played, sports at a collegiate level, you've had to put in a lot of effort to get to that point. And not only that, you've had to deal with some losses, right, in your life. You didn't win every game, right, at the end of the day, or individual match. So you have to be able to deal with some of that stress and deal with the loss, and then also strive moving forward for the win and putting in the effort and looking introspectively. So that's what I look for. But each individual handles stress differently. I have a couple guys who thrive under the pressure, right? And I love those guys. They come out and they tell me, "Hey, John, I need you to be, a little bit harder on me because it gets me fired up." And I go, "Absolutely, I'll do what you need me to do as the leader," right? And then I have a couple guys who, are a little bit, silence, not the right word, but I can see it kind of on their face. I mean, they're out there and they're hunting, but when I see them in the office, I can kind of hear, or I can hear it on a call that their week hasn't been going well or their day hasn't been going well, right? And so I'll usually bring those guys in, and I always share with them that in any sales process, there's ebbs and flows, right? And the most successful salespeople are able to keep your emotions stagnant throughout that process. Stay hungry, obviously, but don't let the lows hit you and don't let the highs hit you. And from a wide roller coaster of from emotions, right? The reason being is if you're able to stay within yourself, you're able to then have that great sales process. If you're too excited, you're going to speed things up too quickly, right? When we probably should have calmed it down, walked it through a little bit better. And I've actually seen it, blow up a deal at the end where we didn't, provide specific things that they wanted because we were too excited about the process and we're too, within our high emotional capacity. And then also on the other spectrum of things, not being confident in yourself, right? You got to be able to pitch your product and be confident in what you're selling. So when you're on that low emotional spectrum, and feeling down on yourself, you got to find a way to get fired up. So I'll bring them in. I'll have a discussion with them. I'll try to fire them up. I'll give them maybe a quote or, a passage. I'm a big reader. So a passage of a book I like to read and just say, hey, go read this quick excerpt. Tell me what you think. Come back and tell me what you think and get them fired up, right? Or the specific movie. Actually, last week, I was just having a talk with one of my guys. And I said, hey, go watch the very last part of Hacksaw Ridge, the movie Hacksaw Ridge.
Hacksaw Ridge.
Where the guy is, where he's talking about, at the very end, they interview the soldier that this was all about. It's an amazing story. It gets me very emotional every time I watch it. But at the very end, he says, I just was looking to God and praying for just let me save one more. And I said, obviously, we're not soldiers, right? But we're out fighting in the marketplace. What I want you to think about is just, hey, let me make one more call. One more call could change your life, right? So that's the shift I want you to make. And he came back in and he goes, hey, I just found 3 deal packages within, the next 10 calls because of the perspective he was able to change things at. So just little tidbits. You have to, I think, as a leader and a manager, you got to be able to know what each individual needs in the specific moment. I think that's the greatest leaders are able to do that. But also make sure that your team is operating at a baseline so you can see the fluctuations, right?
Which books have been helpful? Have you been handing out?
My favorite one, and it's more of a leadership one, but there's great tidbits when it comes to just looking at yourself. I keep coming back to introspective, looking and being self-critical and analytical, is Jocko Willink and Leif Babin's book of the leadership. I'm forgetting the name right now. But I think it's How to Win and Lead. But it's by Jocko Willink and Leif Babin. They were 2 Navy SEALs that were in the Battle of Ramadi. I actually have it in my bookshelf over here. Extreme Ownership. There you go. I just looked really good. That's a great one. How to Master the Art of Selling is a fantastic one. I also, if you're getting some new guys within sales, some younger guys that are hungry, giving them out, How to Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Dynamite is fantastic. Psycho-Cybernetics is another great one. The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle is another fantastic one. And I take tidbits from all of these and, specific passages. But yeah, my favorite book is Extreme Ownership. That's all about looking at yourself and saying, hey, this is what I need to do to succeed. Let me make the proper changes and go from there.
How did the book Extreme Ownership in the end play out in your weekly meetings or in your day-to-day?
So it actually was the reason I have them setting specific goals weekly. So I used to not fly by the seat of the pants, but when I first came into a leadership and management role within sales and finance, I was trying to find my footing of, hey, what works best, right? And I was reading that book, and it was very clear. They have they call it an SOP, right? Standard operating procedure that they operate off of. And from that, they were able to establish, hey, what went wrong here? So, we have a sales, obviously, procedure, but I needed them in order to foresee to me what was going wrong in that procedure, because I can't be on every call with them, right? From, initial calls out to, hey, I'm making 100 calls a day. I'm not going to be able to do that, especially for 5 guys, right? And scale it up. I've had 7, 8, 10 at one point, right? So when you're looking at it from there, I need to see, hey, these are the metrics. This is why I didn't hit it. And then let me look at our procedures, because it's all trackable, and see, hey, what affected these potential outcomes? So that was a big one. And then being very clear as a leader to where we want to go, and then the systems that we need to do to be able to get to those outcomes, right? That comes from Atomic Habits, but that is also replicated, and you can see it in real life scenarios within Extreme Ownership. So, it's great to be able to review with your team, get an understanding of, this is what we missed, this is why we missed it. Now let's implement the system or correct the system to be able to fix the outcome. And then getting real world examples from these guys who, were obviously in terrifying situations where they have to be able to act under pressure. Talk about acting under pressure. I mean, Navy SEALs, I think that's the most pressure you could ever face out there, right? It's literally life or death. So being able to see how they handle that and then implement that within business. What's great about that book too is they have segments at the end of each chapter where, they created a leadership company, essentially consulting company, where they go out and they talk to leaders and help them implement better strategies. And so they have tidbits at the end of how they applied these rules into business, right? And so it was amazing to be able to see that and be able to turn your brain and think in that perspective. Hey, I can implement this day one, right? It's a pretty easy concept to understand. Let me go implement this for my team.
I love 2 things about this. One is the habit of talking about deals that went wrong. Why didn't we close this? What's the reason? What can we learn from that? And we have been implementing in the Sprint Club, which is our community. We're 217 sales leaders. They're there to accelerate sales. So you would imagine everybody wants to win. And so they're always presenting just victories, victories, victories. And so I was like, how do I create a space where we actually tell our mistakes and own our mistakes? Because I think we learn much more from mistakes than from the victories in the end. You need 100 mistakes probably to win something. And now every Friday we are asking, guys, what are your top 3 mistakes? Send in your top 3 mistakes: gold medal, silver medal, and bronze medal mistake of this week. And so now they say, oh, gold medal mistake, I forgot to call that guy back. I didn't call them back in time. Silver medal mistake, I sent him the offer before talking to his partner or to the purchasing department. I knew I shouldn't do it. I should schedule a meeting, but I did it. And so this kind of practice is now bringing in maybe even more ownership. I will have to, I will listen to the book. And it's a great practice. And I'm particularly curious about the last chapter, how they apply it in leadership situations. I'm gonna listen.
It's fantastic. Yeah. And I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. I might be taking that aspect of what you're doing for your team and implementing it with mine. I absolutely love that. Of say top 3 mistakes, which I think is why it's great, to have these podcasts between sales leaders and get an understanding. Something I might not have thought of might be working for another team. Hey, let me implement that, right? I love to be learning continuously and figuring out how I can be better, right? That's the name of the game at the end of the day.
And I think it works because it's just 3 things, and it's easy to quickly post 3 things. So it's a community, and they post in it like Facebook. And so there are these 3 medals. And I think it works because we're turning it into a positive. You are giving them a gold medal. So it's a positive thing to give it something a gold medal, right? So you are ranking. You are in charge. You are in control when you rank something. You are not the loser. You are in charge. You are taking ownership of a mistake and the learning. So the first sentence is, okay, my gold medal, I forget to call them back. My learning is next time, even if I'm on the road, I will schedule a meeting with myself in my calendar saying, call back Jack. Because I know if I'm in the cab, I might forget it.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that's a great point. That's a fantastic point. And then there also is just a nugget for you. They also have a follow-up book, Leif Babin and Jocko Willink, where it's called The Dichotomy of Leadership, where it's all about, hey, I can't go overboard on one side. Now I have the strategies to be able to implement. Well, there's also a way I can go, way over of what I need to be doing or way under what I need to be doing from a strategy perspective and implementing that. So that's a fantastic follow-up book where they came out with the book because they noticed when they were talking to leaders, they come up with a specific strategy of meetings, right? Well, you're having 14 meetings a week, and talking about these things for 3 hours. That's taking away from effectiveness, efficiency, and production, right? From your team, they're in the meeting, they can't be doing what they need to be doing. So they came out with that follow-up of the Dichotomy of Leadership, which is a fantastic follow-up. Similar structure of the book, where they talk about, hey, these are the aspects of each dichotomy, and then and how you need to implement it to make sure you're in the middle, right, and not fall in one way or the other. So that's a fantastic follow-up one.
I'm curious what metrics you guys look at on a daily basis, on a weekly basis. Some people tell us we just look at outcomes, booked meetings, closed deals. The other ones say, no, that's not really my control. I look at the inputs, like the amount of calls that I did, the amount of follow-up emails that I sent, because that's actually in my control. Some people mix it up. What's your perspective?
So I mix it up a little bit. At the end of the day, production is the most important thing, right? So if you're producing at a high level, you're funding large deals. You're getting a lot of term sheets out. Closing those term sheets is the biggest thing, right? And then obviously getting those deals underwritten and approved. So production is very important. And however, on the flip side of things, what I like to see is I do like to see some of those daily metrics. The most important one to me is how many decision makers you were able to get in contact with. At the end of the day, through the sales skills I taught these guys, and then obviously each one has their own spin on things, right? So, each one of my guys, I think besides one or two, have been in the industry for over 6 years now at this point. So they have their own little way of doing things, but I've done a lot of trainings and showed them ways that I was able to build my book of business to where it was and had all the success I was to become a VP at an early age is, hey, that is the one biggest metric that I noticed over all my years that the biggest input that will lead to the best outcomes. Quality and quantity is very important when it comes to calling out, but I'm a big believer of quality over quantity. You could be making 200 calls a day, but if you're not calling the right companies, or just dialing the dial, the not even smiling to dial, you're just putting numbers into a phone or clicking a button, we're not truly being efficient, right, in what we're doing. So that's why I do 95% of the prospecting for my team, so I know the quality is there. In terms of that's something I can control as a leader. Hey, this is all the stuff you guys are able to call on. I know it's quality. Now let's make sure when we're going through the accounts and calling into these accounts, we're putting in the time that needs to be done. So I like to see my guys making anywhere from 65 to 100 calls a day. I think that's very doable while still having the quality day to day of, hey, let me go see if I can find something from a news perspective here, or if I can find a new contact or send a message real quick on LinkedIn, right? But then I want to see every single day you getting a hold of 15 to 20 decision makers. If you can do that, it's very tough to not be successful in this business, right? That's the biggest thing. You could be calling companies and reaching people, but are you speaking to the right person at the end of the day is the biggest one, right? So from an input perspective, yeah, decision makers is my biggest one. And I think that truly at the end of the day for any sales organization should be kind of the one that I think a lot of people look over and look at other metrics, say number of calls, booked meetings, all this stuff. But hey, are you booking the meeting with the right person, or are you speaking to the person at the end of the day who's going to make the decision? That's the biggest one.
I love this. And what do you do to decompress? You have also a stressful job. What do you do to recharge?
So I love spending time. I actually have a newborn daughter. She's with 10 months old now. Oh, just I hope my wife didn't hear that one. I said 8. It was a stressful year in terms of that. She had a heart condition. We were in the hospital for a long time. What happened to her home with us now? Just coming home and seeing her and spending time with the wife is amazing. Going on walks with our German Shepherd is the way I decompress. I love going to the gym. Working out is a great way to, if you're having a tough day, go lift some weights, get active, and you're going to feel better. I can guarantee that. And then also, I'm a big golfer. I love golfing. If I can get out, or twice a month, just with obviously a newborn daughter, and the wife gets mad if I'm going out every weekend when I could be helping with the baby. But I try to get out, twice a month, and that's a great way to, go out with a buddy or just myself. In Corona, I have a lot of golf courses around, so I'll go early in the morning, be back by 10 or 11, and have the rest of the day with the family.
Some people say golfing actually helps with prospecting. Is that true?
Yes, especially if you're going to, I would say, specific courses. Going to some of those higher end courses, if you're able to go, spend the cash. I have found a couple deals. I found a couple deals being at Trump National in LA. That was a big one. Pelican Hill in Newport Beach in Orange County is another great one. If you can go to these places, have conversations, not be afraid to talk to people and ask what they do. Hey, you get paired up with a couple guys. It's not a cheap round. It's usually a $500 or $600 round of golf, right? So talking to these guys while you're out there saying, hey, what do you do for work? This is what I do. Have a conversation like that. You never know what it could lead to. And even at other courses, but those are, if you're going to those courses, there's, especially if you're going on a weekday or something like that, is another one. I would say there's a reason those guys are out there on a Tuesday at 11 o'clock in the afternoon, right? They're able to do that. So
yes.
Let me have a conversation and see why you're able to do that, right?
Jonathan, Frank, everyone. So cool, Jonathan. Thank you for sharing your wisdom, your journey with us. Where can people find you?
So I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. That would be the big one. All my contact information is on there. Jonathan Frank. You can look it up there. I can send you a link to Simon if you'd like, or I don't know if you want to be posting it after. That's a big one. And then also, if you reach me via email, J, first initial of the first name, and then Frank, Frank, my last name, at afg.com, the acronym for Alliance Funding Group. So either one of those, I will always get back to you with the response, and look forward to hearing from people about this.
Thank you, John. Keep rolling, man.
All righty. Appreciate it. Thanks so much for inviting me over. This was great. Thank you.
Avoid trying to do thousands of things that doesn't work. We have 274 templates for your business success. Reach your ambitious goals with one-on-one sprint coach. We double your revenue in 90 days.
What if your business would run well even when you are on vacation? Discover how 1,600 business owners have regained their freedom using the Strategy Sprints blueprints. How they enjoy living their dream and watching their business scale. Get the exact checklists they use to go from stressed to fulfilled using the Strategy Sprints method. Order your copy of Strategy Sprints 12 Ways to Accelerate Growth for an Agile Business on Amazon today. And if you love it, leave us a review. For more information, head over to strategysprints.com.